In a peaceful village surrounded by big mountains, life was easy and predictable. The villagers were happy and loved eating meat, which was a part of every meal. Meat was very cheap, so even the poorest families could eat it every day. This was because of Musa's butchery, a popular shop that people came to from all around. Musa was a kind man with a warm smile, and everyone loved him. His shop was famous for selling the best meat at very low prices. But beneath this happy face, something bad was hidden. People were disappearing, and no one knew why. Every few days, rumors of another death spread quickly, but no one knew who was responsible. The villagers were so busy with their daily lives and loving the cheap meat that they chose to ignore their worries and enjoy life's simple things. One sunny afternoon, Ibrahim, a cheerful man known for his humor and curiosity, visited Musa's butchery. He was there to buy his usual supply of meat, but also needed an empty sack to carry some charcoal he had purchased earlier. "Hey, Musa," Ibrahim called out, leaning over the wooden counter. "Do you have an empty sack I can use to pack my charcoal? I can't walk home balancing a sack on my head like a circus performer." Musa laughed, rummaging through a pile of old sacks in the corner. "Ah, Ibrahim, you're always full of jokes. Here, take this one. Just don't complain if your charcoal turns into gold." Ibrahim chuckled, took the sack, and continued his journey home, unaware that the bag Musa handed him was far from ordinary. As Ibrahim walked along the dusty village path, he noticed the sack felt damp. A metallic smell began to rise, making him stop in his tracks. "What's this?" he muttered, his curiosity piqued. Under the shade of a large mango tree, he decided to inspect the sack. He untied it slowly, his heart pounding. What he found inside made his knees buckle and his heart race. Nestled among faint traces of blood was a severed bone of the human skeleton. Ibrahim froze, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. Dropping the sack with a thud, he stepped back, muttering, "Hey, Ibrahim, what have you done to deserve this? Am I dreaming, or has Musa started selling body parts instead of meat?" Even in his shock, Ibrahim couldn't resist cracking a joke. "But Ibrahim, who packs charcoal with the bones of the human skeleton? What will the ancestors say if they see me like this?" Meanwhile, across the village, a family had invited a guest for lunch. They had bought meat from Musa's butchery and prepared a hearty meal. The guest, a man with refined taste, took a bite of the stew and paused, his face twisted in confusion. "This meat," he began, waving his spoon, "tastes strange. Are you sure this is beef?" "It's tender, yes, but it has a flavor I can't place. Are we eating meat or something else?" The family burst into laughter, dismissing his concerns. "Guest, what are you talking about?" "This is the best meat in the village. You must just have a sensitive palate," one of them teased. But the guest remained skeptical. He leaned closer to the pot, sniffing the stew, and whispered, "This doesn't smell like any beef I've ever known. Is this meat really from Musa's butchery? Or did you go hunting in the graveyard?" The room erupted in laughter, but a seed of doubt had been planted. Ibrahim, still clutching the blood-stained sack, decided he couldn't let the matter rest. He marched back to Musa's butchery, his heart racing but his wit intact. "Musa!" he shouted as he reached the counter. "What in the name of all that's holy did you give me? Am I a charcoal seller or a mortician?" Musa, confused, looked at the sack and froze. His face turned pale and he stammered, Ibrahim, what do you mean?" "I gave you an empty sack, didn't I?" Ibrahim slammed the sack on the counter, opened it, and stepped back. "Look for yourself. This isn't empty. This is evidence. If the police find me, do you think they'll believe I was just packing charcoal?" Musa's eyes widened in horror as he saw the hand. He clutched his head, muttering, No, this can't be happening. How did this get here?" News of Ibrahim's discovery spread through the village like wildfire. People began to whisper about Musa's butchery and the mysterious disappearances. The guest's earlier comments about the strange taste of the meat took on a chilling new meaning. One elderly villager, known for his sharp tongue, remarked, "Ah, so this is why Moose's meat was so cheap and tender. We've been eating human flesh all along. No wonder my dreams have been very bad lately. Everyday nightmare. I did not know that I was eating something terrible." Another added, "And I thought I was gaining weight because of good cooking." Turns out, Musa was feeding us mystery meat. As pressure mounted, Musa confessed to a dark secret. He revealed that he had been blackmailed by a ruthless gang into disposing of their victims by turning them into meat for his shop. Fear of retaliation had kept him silent, but now the truth was out. The villagers were horrified and furious. They gathered at the town square, demanding justice and vowing never to return to Musa's butchery. Meanwhile, Ibrahim, ever the comedian, couldn't resist one last quip. "Hey, Musa, you've turned us into accidental cannibals, but at least now we know why your meat was always tender. It was marinated in secrets." The village erupted in laughter, even as they grappled with the grim reality. Despite the humor, the situation was dire, and the villagers knew they had to act. With the police involved, Musa was arrested, and the gang behind the killings was hunted down. The butchery was permanently closed, forcing the villagers to rethink their diets. Ibrahim, though shaken, became a local hero for exposing the truth. The guest who had raised suspicions about the meat left the village shortly after, muttering, "I knew it wasn't beef. Next time I'm bringing my own lunch." Life in the village slowly returned to normal, but the memory of Musa's butchery lingered. It became a cautionary tale, a reminder that sometimes the cheapest things come at the highest cost. As for Ibrahim, he remained as humorous as ever, often recounting his experience with the sack of charcoal and the human hand. "And that," he would say with a chuckle, "is why I'll never trust a Frigonia again." Aisha, a lively and outspoken woman known for her quick wit and love for bargains, had been a regular at Musa's butchery before its closure. One morning, she arrived to find the shop shut and eerily quiet. Frowning, she muttered, "What nonsense is this? Why close the only butchery where you get decent meat? These other shops sell more bones than meat. You cook for hours and end up with soup and skeletons." The crowd around her chuckled at her complaints. "Musa's meat was always tender and ready quickly," she continued. "Now I have to go to these useless shops. By the time the meat is cooked, I've lost my appetite. This village, no one wants to make life easy." Reluctantly, Aisha bought meat from another shop and returned home. That evening, she sat by the fire, growing impatient as the meat took longer to cook. "This is why I'll never buy meat from anywhere else," she grumbled. "Musa's meat, no matter what people say, always made life simple." Her children giggled at her frustration. "Mommy, is the meat not ready yet?" one teased. Aisha shot them a look. "Keep quiet, you little stomachs. Do you think I'm a magician?" A week later, Aisha's cousin Jamila visited from another village. Over lunch, they discussed village rumors. "Aisha," Jamila began, lowering her voice, "have you heard what people are saying about Musa's butchery?" Aisha leaned in, curious but skeptical. "What are they saying now?" Jamila's face grew serious. "They're saying the meat Musa sold wasn't beef or goat?" Aisha laughed. "Ah, Jamila, you and your stories. If it wasn't beef or goat, what was it? Chicken?" "No," Jamila replied gravely. "People are saying it was human meat." Aisha's laughter faded. She stared at her cousin, waiting for the punchline, but Jamila's expression remained solemn. "You're joking," Aisha said, shaking her head. "I've heard that nonsense before, but I don't believe it. How could Musa sell human meat? He has children like us. He's not a monster." Jamila leaned closer. "Aisha, I'm serious. Even the police were involved. They found something in his shop that shouldn't have been there." Aisha raised her eyebrows but refused to believe it. "People will always gossip. Until I see proof, I won't believe such rubbish." Later, Aisha visited her aunt in a nearby village. As they sat under a mango tree, Aisha recounted the rumors. "Auntie, have you heard what they're saying about Musa's butchery?" she asked. Her aunt sighed. "Yes, my child, it's terrible. If it's true, may God forgive us for what we've eaten." Aisha shook her head. "I still don't believe it. John has been here for years. How could he do such a thing? And if it's true, why didn't anyone notice earlier?" Her aunt shrugged. "These are strange times, Aisha. Even those we trust can do the unthinkable. But I've stopped buying meat altogether. Better to eat beans and live in peace." Back home, Aisha's children had also heard rumors at school. One evening, as they ate dinner, the youngest asked, "Mommy, did you buy this meat from Musa's butchery?" Aisha paused, her spoon mid-air. "Why are you asking such silly questions? Eat your food and stop talking nonsense." The older child giggled. "But, Mommy, they said at school that people used to buy human meat from there. This meat tastes like—" "Quiet!" Aisha snapped, slamming her spoon on the table. "Do you think I have time for children's foolish talk? Eat your food and let me hear word." "Trust is like a pot," Aisha would later say to her children. "Once broken, it's hard to fix." The villagers had learned that trust must be earned, and that sometimes the most seemingly trustworthy individuals can hide the darkest of secrets. Dear friends, let the tale of Musa's butchery be a cautionary tale for us all. As we go about our daily lives, let us not take for granted the food that we eat. Let us be mindful of the source of our meat, and not just swallow anything that is presented to us. Remember, the cheapest option may not always be the best. Be willing to ask questions, to seek out the truth, and to demand quality. For it is better to pay a little more for food and drinks that are sourced from trustworthy places than to risk consuming something that may harm us.
For everyone who is asking about how to create folktale stories like this and get their channels monetized in 30 days, like I got this channel monetized in exactly 24 days from scratch, click the link in the description of this video or in the pinned comment to learn how to do same. All right, so what did you learn from this story? Share it in the comment section. And please subscribe to this channel right now and turn on post notification so that whenever a story is posted, you'll be the first to get notified and you'll be the first to watch. Like and share this. Don't forget to drop your lessons in the comment section. Subscribe and see you in our next story. Bye-bye.